like I was having trouble organizing, and I was having trouble speaking. Like I had slowness of speech. I had trouble finding words, and I was starting to have a lot of difficulty in organizing things. And so I was getting a little concerned that maybe I was going to have like early onset dementia or something like that.
Candace, how did you find carnivore?
Well, Dave, I grew up and I had a long history of disordered eating throughout. I believe it started in middle school. So middle school, high school, and a few years of college. I kind of went from anorexia to bulimia, and I kind of kept it on the down low. I was able to hide it really well, and I don't think very many people knew I had those issues. And I was also an athlete, and I was able to keep somewhat trim. I was not, I was maybe a little couple pounds heavier than I would have liked to have been. But all in all, I really liked food. I'm telling you, every tooth in my mouth is a sweet tooth, and I would eat, fruit. I would gravitate towards candy, anything sugary, generally chocolatey. I was all over it. So like, it was difficult. And what the nutrition guidelines at the time was a lot of carbohydrates, and it just seemed to feed that desire. I would come home from track practice, and I would just smother a couple pieces of bread with either honey or something sweet, and just eat those, and then dinner. But I definitely was addicted to sugar at a young age. So like I said, the nutritional guidelines was, we had the food pyramid, and carbs were definitely a major part of it. And then with athletes, they would recommend eating every couple of hours. I think it was 6 small meals a day, which they would recommend. And so I started doing that. That worked well. And then I got married, and thankfully was able to overcome the eating disorder. But I just did start to gain weight, and I decided I was just going to be happy in my body no matter what. Like, I had a healthy body, and yes, I was a couple of pounds more than I wanted to be, and so I was just going to be thankful that I had a healthy body. So that's kind of how I went on. I had 2 kids. I had a series of 3 miscarriages, and on my 3rd pregnancy, I guess it would have been my sixth, it's all right, 5th pregnancy. I was put on some hormones, and it was a cocktail of things. And he thankfully was a successful pregnancy, followed by 2 more. So we have 5 children. And with the last 3 children, I did put on a significant amount of weight, and I wasn't happy with it. My husband, he was also overweight and not happy with his body. We were both very busy with the things that we had going on. We had, like, I didn't work outside the home, but I had 5 children that I was taking care of. We had a side business, and we also homeschooled. So we were very, very busy. And my husband had an extremely busy job. I mean, it wasn't uncommon for him to work 16 hours a day. So there wasn't a lot of time to work out. We tried to eat healthfully, and but that, I guess, just maintained where we were. So let's see, probably in 2018 or so, we decided we really wanted to do something about how we were. And so I started researching, and I came across the keto diet. And so we did that for a little bit. It was successful. And but it just wasn't super sustainable. My husband wasn't really on board, and my kids weren't super on board with it, so it kind of fell by the wayside. And then I believe 2019 and 2000 2020, with the pandemic and everything, we kind of were reinvigorated with our search or pursuit of health. We were more careful about eating a lot more vegetables and fruit and healthy meats. But it just wasn't putting us where we wanted to be. And so I scoured YouTube, and I followed several doctors on YouTube. I think it's okay to say I followed Dr. Eric Berg, and I came across Dr. Ken Berry, and all of a sudden he started doing the carnivore diet. I was like, that just sounds really strange, but I was somewhat intrigued about it. And what was really interesting is I was a biology major in college, and all of that just turned everything up on its head. Like everything that I had known and trusted that was right, it was the opposite. It just felt like it was so mind-blowing that you could eat fat and lose weight and get healthy. I was like, it just was really intriguing to me. And so I just started scouring all that I could find on the internet and on YouTube. And I follow numerous like YouTube doctors and I'm super thankful that they do put out the content that they do. And I do believe that they have a lot of really, really good information out there. It was just, I think part of it is I just want to make sure that we're going to be okay, because it's just so different from anything that we'd ever heard. The mantra is, you have to have lots of fiber, you have to have vegetables. I could not believe you could exist on just meat. And so it was fascinating to me. And I also wanted to make sure I wasn't going to harm myself or my husband. So I just honestly feel like I went down a rabbit hole, and I watch, carnivore content every day, and I started a couple YouTube channels. A couple of years ago, I started one that I was just tracking our family and things that we've done. And I have a couple like carnivore type videos on there. And then I decided I didn't necessarily want my family and friends to know what I was doing, because I felt uncomfortable about it at the time. And so I started another channel that I didn't tell anybody about, just so I could document my journey. And I wanted to kind of have a record of things that I had done. And it's going really well. I've also recently started a Facebook group for people in my area, and I'm trying to get people motivated to try this. One of the things, I had a couple health struggles probably when I turned 40. And one of them was migraines. I started developing migraines, and then I would have some anxiety and panic attacks that came along with that. And I started taking CBD to help with that. And, as I've gotten older, it seems like I've got some other things that have cropped up, like, my visions. I've always had 20/20 vision, and I think I still do, but I started needing reading glasses more recently. And I would, my blood pressure started getting higher. Like I'd never had trouble with blood pressure before. So on carnivore, my blood pressure has gone down to below the 120/80. So that's been really well. I haven't had any more migraines, and I haven't had any anxiety attacks. I feel a lot more at ease. I don't get super angry. I think maybe the blood sugar swings that I would have when I would have carbs and and candy, I could go into, I don't want to say a rage, but I was definitely, I could get hangry really easily and be really irritable and unreasonable at times. So that seems to have diminished a lot. I seem to be able to get things done a lot easier. Like I joke with my husband that I think we're both ADD, and as we've gotten older, and like we have all these ideas and things that we want to do, and but just don't have the energy to do it, or we'll start it and we'll not finish it. And so I joke that the carnivore diet has given my ADD legs. Like I don't sit there and like in paralysis anymore. I am able to plan it out and get tasks done. Before, I always felt like I was being pushed to do something, and it wasn't like I wanted to do it. I was resisting the push, and once since I've been on carnivore, I seem like I'm able to accomplish these tasks on my terms, and I think it's Carrie Mann from Homestead How that says he feels like he's the captain of his own ship, and I feel that I really do. It's just given me. I think the things I appreciate about carnivore is it's given me clarity of like my thought processes. I think that. Um, or like I was having trouble organizing, and I was having trouble speaking. Like I had slowness of speech. I had trouble finding words, and I was starting to have a lot of difficulty in organizing things. And so I was getting a little concerned that maybe I was going to have like early onset dementia or something like that. I wasn't sure. We do, my husband and we do have a lot going on. And so I feel like I just needed to get control of things, or I was going to start losing like control over everything. So it was kind of fear that motivated me also to find carnivore as well. So I was very thankful that it seems to have I've benefited greatly in that aspect. Um, let's see. I kind of have become a carnivore advocate for everybody that I talk to. If they complain that they've got any issues, health issues, I'm like, this may sound strange, but I think you should try carnivore. Or I've kind of softened it, and I'll say like zero carb or low carb, super low carb. And so that kind of is less off-putting than carnivore right off the bat. And so they seem to be a little bit more receptive to the low carb or zero carb phrase than they do carnivore. But I get so excited about sharing like the changes that I've had in my life, and my husband has experienced significant changes in his life as well. He used to be on a sleep apnea machine, and he's been able to sleep just fine without that, and that's been huge. He doesn't snore anymore. Both of us sleep really peacefully, and I tend to have a high sleep requirement, and I've gotten away with fewer hours, and I'm not as groggy in the morning as I had been before. During the pandemic, there was something called black seed oil that we had used, and the saying is that black seed oil will cure everything but death. And I kind of think that carnivore could potentially cure anything but death as well. It's just absolutely amazing the change that we've had in our life, and I do think I want to continue eating this way and promoting it to other people.
Congratulations on such good results. What kind of timeline are we talking here? So you kind of discovered it around 2020, I guess, but when did you get started?
I started carnivore at the end of July of this year, and my husband was probably in August that he started. So it's nice that we're
Okay.
able to do it together.
Mm. And how are you working in with the kids as well? Because with 5 kids, what does that do to meal prep times?
Yeah, well, it's actually a lot easier. And I told them that I wasn't going to be cooking all this extra stuff anymore. So if you want something that has carbs in it, you're going to have to make it yourself. So my kids they range in age from 21 to 10. My oldest is actually, she got married in September, which actually was kind of a motivating factor to begin this carnivore diet because my husband and I wanted to look as good as we could for the wedding. So we had motivation, and she got married in September, and we just felt so good after that we've continued it, and we want to see where it takes us. So the kids, I explained to them how there is potential to maximize their growth. That, like I've heard, I think it was Dr. Anthony Chafee had said a couple times that the Native American Indians that lived in the United States used to be very tall while they were hunters and gatherers. And then once they started to live a more agricultural type life, their height declined. I also think that I heard that jaw development and teeth, like I went to the dentist a few times, and like I had to have braces when I was growing up, and I've had 3 kids in braces already out of the 5. And I told them, I said, I think people used to have straight teeth, and now there's a lot of people out there that have to have braces anymore. And I think it's because they don't get the jaw development early on by eating meat and things that are harder. Everything seems to be soft that we eat nowadays. And so I kind of wonder about, so those are some of the things that I've told my kids that they could benefit from. And, if you look up the nutritional value of a ribeye, I mean, there's a lot of nutrients in that ribeye, and I don't think I'm going to be depriving them at all for any nutrients. But when they do crave some carbs, they'll go ahead and they'll make, pizza or something that they want. And they really learned a lot of culinary skills because I'm not doing it for them. And it's just and it's also too much of a temptation for me as well to be in the kitchen with all those carbs. So I do try to like not buy things that are tempting to me, and that's helped significantly.
Day to day, how are you eating now?
Um, Generally, we skip breakfast, and that goes for all of the kids and my husband. We don't do breakfast. My husband and I do have coffee. Sometimes I'll put cream in it, like whipping cream, and then other times I'll drink it black. And then we'll have lunch is usually our big meal. We'll have hamburgers or a steak or fish or chicken. Generally, we gravitate more toward red meat than chicken, but the occasional chicken or fish is good as well. And then we'll have leftovers, honestly, for supper if we have anything. So generally, my kids will eat lunch and supper, and then a lot of times my husband and I will just eat lunch, and we'll do the OMAD and one meal a day. And that seems to work really well. Another thing I wanted to share with you was with my older 2 kids, I did seem to run to the doctor often with them with different things. And one of the things that my oldest suffered with was, it seemed like hypoglycemia. Like she was also an athlete, but about halfway through maybe a basketball game or something, her blood sugar would just tank, and she would have to go sit down for a while. She'd be shaky and stuff, and I would take her into the doctor and explain what was going on, and he would just say, well, you should keep a food journal, or you should give her more protein or something like that. And I found that fasting, like going through that process of being able to skip breakfast and just eat lunch and supper, helped tremendously. I think we all became more fat adapted. We didn't have the shakiness and the brain fog and the hangriness anymore. It really helped with that.
You've got my respects. Like, just you've been so busy. You mentioned you got your side business. You got 5 children, and you're homeschooling them. Um, how do you fit all that in?
Yeah, homeschooling does give you the opportunity to create your own schedule, and so we appreciate that. There's not a lot of wasted time in our day, and we try to incorporate our kids in our business as well. So, and my husband works from home, and so he's able to help with certain things as well. And we have a small farm as well. So we're trying to do regenerative agriculture, and we have 70 acres, and we've got 5 cows and 6 pigs and a bunch of chickens. And so we're trying to help the kids learn responsibility and where their food comes from through all of that. And we live our property backs up to a reservoir, and so I just feel kind of responsibility for the land and that journey, and that's kind of something else. And that's kind of how I came across Carrie Mann as well when he was starting his carnivore journey, because he has a homestead channel, and I like to get on there and get inspiration and like how do other people do certain things, and I look it up on YouTube generally, or the internet. And so I came across him and his carnivore journey as well. So yeah, it's carnivore definitely has given us more energy and clarity that we can prioritize our tasks that need to get done, and the energy to get it done as well.
So, where does this go for you from here? Like, do you hope to grow the farm at all? Do you get more cows? How are you gonna work things?
Um, well, I think we're going to we're kind of landlocked. So the 70 acres that we have, I'm very happy with, and I just want to really work on that and get those 70 acres as healthy as we can. I think a small herd size is really good for that. Um, we might add a couple more cows, but I do appreciate knowing like what we're feeding them, and I have to say they're not completely grass fed. This is kind of our first year in raising cows, and so we're learning as we go. So I just want to probably keep it small, and I don't foresee us having a whole bunch of head of cattle. I want to know each cow, and I need it to be small and easy to manage for us. Kind of a boutique type farm, I suppose you could say.
So you mentioned you had a couple of YouTube channels. Could you talk about those, please?
Sure. Well, my first YouTube channel is called The Brick House, and we have a house next door that is an 1881 old brick farmhouse, and it was the homestead of this area. And we've kind of bought all the properties back up that was what that house was the main homestead for, and kind of unified the property again. And we're working on that. It's an Airbnb, and it's so the YouTube channel is called The Brick House, and we kind of chronicled what we've done so far there, and then also like some of the things that we've done with our animals on the farm. And I've talked a little bit about the carnivore diet, and then I have carnivorish at 47, and that is the one that I made private, or not private, but it's public, but I wasn't telling any of my family and friends about it because I just wanted to try to reach out to people just out there and get feedback from them. So it's carnivore-ish at 47. And then I started a Kokomo carnivore Facebook group for kind of people in the area around us. I thought maybe eventually we might have some meetups and things like that.
Oh, very nice. So I'll link to those in the description below. Candace, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you for having me.